Make just released their AI agents, and they're exactly what I was hoping for. And what better way to test it out than turning Slack into my very own AI agent? This is going to be a complete step-by-step walkthrough. I'll be covering every single step. We're starting from scratch, and by the end, you'll have your very own working Slack AI agent. Let's jump in. So I will preface all of this with Slack does have a agentic tool called Agent Force that they've built, and it looks cool. I haven't really played with it that much yet, but definitely worth looking at. I'm going to walk through how to use Slack with Make, just in case you want to replace Slack with Telegram or Twilio or some type of other messaging app. But this agentic tool looks super cool within Slack and the bots and the apps that you can make within it. So I'll probably do a new video about this at some point because it looks super cool. But let's actually jump into creating our scenario to get started with our Slack AI agent. So we create the new scenario button, and then let's search Slack because we need a input to our AI agent. So first we'll start with watching new events within Slack. And what this will do is watch any channel, any private or public channel or DMs. And anytime a message comes through, it will trigger the scenario and do the thing. Now we can create a new webhook. And the nice thing with Slack is it's super easy to create webhooks. They made it very easy. Let's call it Slack events. I actually have one already. So I'm going to call it 2. And then we're going to watch for new private channel messages. We're going to pick our channel, which I've called Slack something, Slack agent. Save that. And it should have connected in the background. I'll click save. And honestly, I like to start here and let's see what happens. Let's just go over to our Slack channel. So this is our Slack channel. I'll be bouncing back and forth between this and make a bunch. And it's a blank channel. And all we need to do is run it and let's see what happens. Hello world. We got it. So it's pretty straightforward. The magic of making Slack together. So now let's connect our actual AI agent. So this is the new piece that Make just added, and it is the Make AI agent. So this is brand new. It's in beta. I think everyone has access to it now. 2 days ago, 3 days ago, it was rolling out, and I'm pretty sure most everyone has it as of today. Or you'll have it very soon if you don't have it yet. And we have a bunch of settings here that we need to run through. So first we want to create a new agent. Create a new agent. And you can choose between a bunch of different AI GPTs or LMs. I'm just going to stick with the OpenAI because I already have it configured and I already have my connection configured. So I'm not actually going to change anything. If you needed to create a new connection, it's very easy. You just walk through these steps. You know, OpenAI requires an API key. Most of these required API keys. Some of them might have OAuth of some sort, but it's pretty much an API key. It was super easy. So let's give it an agent name. AI agent. Pretty straightforward. Pick our model. Let's do like O3 mini. So it has a little reasoning in it. And then we need to give it a system prompt. And the system prompt is actually the prompt needed for kind of the base of what the AI agent will be doing for you. So for example, Let's look at the example down here. You're a customer service agent whose primary goal is to help customers. So I'm going to do, you are a helpful assistant to Brandon. You perform, uh, let's just leave it at that. You're a helpful assistant to Brandon. Let's do a helpful personal assistant. We'll make this a personal assistant, not a team assistant. All right, easy enough. So we have our AI agent set up within Make, and then we'll come back to this additional tools. But what we need to do is give it sub scenarios that it will have access to. And we'll do that in a minute. But first, let's finish setting up our basic AI agent. So the thread ID is going to be what comes back from whatever messaging app we have. And the idea of this is any thread that we have, it will continue the conversation potentially. So it will track the past few messages and it will also respond to those that thread. So it kind of keeps a common thread with those messages. So we want to give it some type of thread. So the nice thing is we have our message ID here. So we'll stick with our message ID. And you can maybe do channel too. Actually, channel is probably the right one. Let's stick with channel, see what happens. And then any additional instructions, go here. We're going to add a little bit more here in a minute. I'm going to just leave this as you are a helpful assistant for Brandon. We're actually going to list out the tasks that are possible for this AI agent in just a minute. But I'm going to leave it as this just so we can kind of test, make sure things are working, and then we'll come back as we fill in the blanks. And then we have our message. Our message is the actual message that we want to be the input. So since Slack is our system we're using, our platform we're using, we're going to use the message from there. You could also use Telegram, Twilio, like text messaging, or WhatsApp, Instagram. Like you could use anything, which is kind of cool. So the message will come back as text. So this was our hello world example that we used. And then finally, our, should the scenario stop or should it continue? We don't want it to stop. Not exactly sure why you would do that, but we're just going to keep it going. So we'll say, no, we want to keep it going. Yes, recommended for agents, right? Continue scenario, run. Well, oh, no, we don't want it to continue. So this would be, okay, so this is if it's too long. It was going to take a long time. You might want the scenario to keep running. But ours isn't because otherwise it's not going to be real time. So you're not actually going to respond to the message. So we needed to sit there and wait for the sub agent to run to then respond to the message thread. So we're going to say no. All right, there we go. And then let's just do a response just to make sure we have everything connected correctly. And we'll just do Slack, create message, attach it here. And again, I've already set up my connection here, and I have another video on how to set up a Slack bot. And there's two ways to do it. You can either configure this. The easiest way is to configure this by just doing add, and you can do a user, and it will have you log in. The only issue with that is it will actually reply to any of the message threads as you, and you'd probably rather have it reply as some type of bot. So I have a bot that I've already created. It's a bit of a process. It's not crazy, but it's a bit of a process, and I've created a separate video just for that, since this video is more about setting up the AI agent within Slack. But you pretty much create the bot in Slack, and then you just give it the keys. There's like a client secret and a bot key. So I'll skip this piece. I've already set it up. And if you want to watch that, go watch it, and then you can come back and continue here. And then we're going to grab our ID from, enter manually, we're going to grab our ID from our first module, which has the channel somewhere. Here it is, channel. So we'll have the channel ID, and then it can respond with any text that you want. So right now we'll just do, thank you for the message. And this is again just to test it and make sure I have everything configured correctly. What are in the advanced settings? Oh yeah. So if we want to, I'm going to add the thread just to show you. So this is if we want to reply to the specific thread of our message. It's a nice feature. I've noticed that replying within the thread is actually somewhat annoying because then you have to like click into the thread. But I'll just show it to you, and then we can remove it if we need to. So we choose this timestamp, which is like the message ID within Slack. And the rest of this stuff can stay the same. So let's save it. All right, let's give this a shot and see what happens. Run it. And it's sitting here waiting for a message. Let's come over to our Slack channel and say, hello world again. See what happens. So received it. And now the make AI agent is doing something, which we didn't give it much instruction. So it's probably saying thank you or hello world. And then it responded with, thank you for the message. So let's see what happened. And look at that. It responded with thank you for the message. Cool. So we have it connected. And I realized we could have actually put the message as the response here. Makes more sense. So let's try that one more time. Hello world again. I received it. The AI agent's trying to figure out what to do with it. And there's not much to do with it. So it's just going to reply with, what's on your mind today? That's fantastic. Hello again. What's on your mind today? Which is great. That's exactly what we want. So you can see how what I mentioned with this was a little annoying because then you have to click into the thread each time. So it's definitely preference. If you want it to be its own like single thread and not like sub threads, then remove that piece. So now we need to start adding some actual operations for our AI agent to do. And within make, we have the construct of a AI agent scenario and then sub AI agents that we tell the AI agent about, and then it will decide which tasks to perform and then perform those tasks. So let's create some sub agents and have it actually do something. We'll come over here and do create new scenario. And within the scenario, we can really do whatever we want. The sub scenario requires an input and an output, which was this new feature down here that was added recently that allows us to give it some type of input and then decide what the output should be. So let's picture of something we want to do. And in this example, I'm thinking let's have it store some type of like a content idea. So in Slack, we could go and be like, hey, here's a content idea of like a YouTube idea or a LinkedIn post, some type of idea that you want to throw in Slack and have your AI agent record it somewhere. So we'll do an input of a message. We'll say the input message. This doesn't actually, like, you can call this whatever. So as these get more advanced, I'm showing the basic building blocks for it, but as these get more advanced, obviously you can make these inputs and outputs much more sophisticated. So I'm just going to do like message. So this is going to be the message from the AI agent, and then we're going to do something with it. So we'll just say it's text. We'll save that. So this would be the input, and then let's do something with it. So assuming the message comes in, we want to process the message and do a little bit more AI around the thing we want it to do. So just for fun, let's have the OpenAI turn our content idea into a few additional properties and store those somewhere. And let's just have them store them in Google Sheets because I happen to have a Google Sheet stored ready to go for testing. So let's do O3 Mini and let load. Code, and we'll add a message. I'm going to keep this basic right now. And obviously, you would go much more advanced on the prompt, but let's keep it super basic. The main thing that we need will be our new variable that we've created, which is our input here. Close this. So this message input now is something we can use within our prompt. So the message is going to be what the AI agent in the parent scenario sends to the sub scenario, and we'll use it in some way. So we'll say, you are a helpful assistant, if I can type. And I'm not going to have you have to watch this whole piece. So I'm going to jump forward and have a beautiful prompt created from this. And here we go. We have the updated prompt. This, again, is just an example of what's possible. But the idea is I would be able to send a content idea in Slack, and it would then prioritize it for me, put it, extract some data, brainstorm some ideas, and put it into a Google Sheet is where we're going to put this info for now. So I say, create a concise title from the, rough idea I sent, a description, some type of hook, and some type of like rough outline. Again, this prompt is very basic, so you'd probably want to beef it up and do more, but you'll get the idea of the power of what an AI agent could do. So I say return the JSON object, and then I send it the message that came from our AI agent. And then I just need to do advanced settings. We want to return JSON because I told it was going to be JSON. Say yes, please parse the JSON, and done. The next step is let's send it somewhere. So I have this Google Sheet, which is very basic. I created just for this idea, description, hook, outline. Again, this is an example. This could be an Airtable. This could be a Notion database, which I'm going to show a Notion database in just a minute. But the idea is, we're going to take some data and do something with it. So we're going to do add a row. I've already done the connection. These connections are super easy. It's like you click add, you log in, you give it permission, and then you're good. I'm going to just grab this specific file, examples, and then the sheet. And it does contain headers, and then it pulls in the first row, which are my headers. And now I really just need to match up what's going to come back from the AI. But before I do that, so I don't have to worry about trying to guess on the prompt, the names, property names, let's just save this and let's run it. Actually, I'll actually just unlink this so we can see what comes back from the OpenAI. Let's save this and then run just the specific one and see what it looks like. So most likely the AI agent's going to send something with like some type of content idea. So it'd be, here's my new content idea, a YouTube video about creating an AI agent with Make using Slack. There we go. So it's going to send something super rough. We'll send it, see what it comes back with, and then we'll know which properties we're going to connect. There we go. So the response, now we have a title, description, hook, outline. I'm not sure why the outline just came back as an array. Let's look at that real quick. To the outline, we really just want to be text. What did it say it is? Oh, whoops. We just want this to be text. Regardless, that should give us enough that we need. So we can come back in here, grab our sheet, and then we have the results. And we can just pretty much connect these. So instead of idea, I call it title, description, hook, and then outline. Which outline, it should, when we run this, switch this from an array to a string. If it doesn't, we'll get an error, fix it. and save it. So let's try this one more time. So it's expecting the input since we set up the inputs in the scenario. So that's what I typed in before was the input. Nice thing is it saves it. So every time I don't have to retype it. Gonna run it. And then Google Sheets ran successfully and it added our new idea. So here's our idea, our description, our hook, and our outline. Perfect. That's what we needed. The final step here is to send back the data if we want to. You don't necessarily have to, but let's just go ahead and send some type of response just for fun. Uh, we're going to do scenario, return an output. And again, this is the connection to our inputs and outputs in our scenario piece down here. So we created the outputs and now we can actually send the output. So we haven't created any yet. So let's keep it super simple. We'll just do response, the response. And you could turn this into a collection, array, whatever you want. So array, collection, you can have it be an array of collections, like an array of objects if you want to. I'm just gonna do text. We'll save it. And then now you see that it pops up for the output. And then we could put whatever we want in here. So I'm just gonna put the um, sheet ID for fun. Again, you could put whatever. You could put done. You could put whatever you want into here. You'll see in my example for Notion, I'm going to put the Notion URL. So I return the URL, which is nice because then it actually will return the URL within the Slack message. All right. So with all this work, we've now set this up. A very important piece, we need to turn this to on demand. This must be on demand or it won't actually work. So we'll turn it on. We'll set it to on demand. The AI agent requires that any sub scenarios, sub agents are on demand, or what was the other one? Yeah, just on demand. So which means it's pretty much just like waiting to be run. So now that it's set there and it's turned on, it needs to be on for it to work. We'll save it. And now we just need to connect our AI agent to our sub agent. So we click our AI agent, and then there's this additional tools, this add tools piece, and we just tell it about our sub agent. So let's do sub agent new content idea. That's what we created, and we give it a description, which is what the LLM will actually use. So this would be create a new content idea in Google Sheets. I'm going to be somewhat specific just because it will use this in the response and when it's identifying what is possible. So we'll save this. And then we come down here back to our instructions. Remember how we kept it super basic, but we want to make it more advanced. And now we will say your helpful assistant to helpful assistant for Brandon. You can perform specific tasks. Here are the tasks you can perform. And we'll do a list. And right now we're just going to have one. And then the idea is that we create multiple sub agents or multiple scenarios within Make that we link. And then we can tell this AI agent about them and we can send it data. So sky's the limit on this. So right now we're just adding a row to a Google Sheet, but think about adding entries to a CRM, which I'm going to show you how to do here in a second, or have it look at your calendar, create calendar events, schedule meetings, do research on prospects. The sky's the limit. So the idea is you create this agent and then you just keep sending it. Keep creating these sub agents and telling it about them, and then it just does the things it need. Just then gives you access to it within your Slack channel. So let's add the task. So far we just have one. It is create a content idea in a Google Sheet. So this is just going to send whatever content idea we have to the Google Sheet, and then we will leave it there. That's what happens. And run it, and we'll see what happens. Back to our Slack bot and say, here's a new content idea. How to create a Slack AI agent with make.com. All right, we'll click enter. We'll come back to our AI agent. It received the message. It's now deciding what to do within AI, and it might decide just to respond with like, I don't know what to do, or it might respond with the actual task that it needs to do. Let's go back and look at it. We have a reply, and it says, I've added the new content idea, how to create a Slack AI agent with make.com to your Google Sheet. What would you like to do next? So let's go look at our Google Sheet. It's pretty exciting. And there we go. It created our new entry. So remember, it ran that sub scenario, and that sub scenario took the original idea and then broke it down into um, more properties of the description, the hook, and the outline. And now we have this pretty cool, uh, albeit basic, AI agent, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty powerful. Cool. Now let's add something else to our AI agent. So I'm going to add one more thing just to show an example. And then ideally, this is your mind's exploding and you're like, whoa, there's so many things I can do. And you're going to go crazy building all these AI agents and sub agents. And you're going to be super agentic and it's going to be wild and amazing. So let's add a new scenario. Leave this one alone. This was our sub agent. Let's add a new scenario and give the AI agent. I need to learn how to be able to say that a little easier. Our AI agent something else to do. So we'll come over, click create a new scenario. And this one, I'm picturing setting up a super basic CRM with a Notion so we can show how we could connect to different platforms. And within the basic CRM, we ideally will be able to send a message to Slack saying, hey, I just talked to this person, add them as a new prospect in the CRM, which would be super cool. But let's get started and we'll walk through the possibilities. So again, we're going to start with our OpenAI just so we can take that message and do stuff with it, extract the data, turn it into more information to put it into our example Notion CRM. So we'll pick our model, go through mini, load our message, our user, and our text. So we want to say something like this. So this is the prompt that I have created, and I'll run through it in a second. But the idea is that the input goes to this example CRM that I created in Notion. So if you're not familiar with Notion, it is a like project management tool or a CRM. You can kind of turn it into whatever you want to. So it's similar to like Make or ClickUp or all these different tools. And it allows you to create databases or like tables, however you want. And so I've created this basic example CRM database with person name, company name, email, phone, LinkedIn, lead status, sort of the foundation of a CRM. And it's blank right now. So let's use our sub agent to actually put some info into it. This prompt runs through and says, you're an expert data extraction assistant. Your job is to parse, sales lead message and turn into a bunch of these fields. So I've listed out the fields. Again, this prompt is pretty basic. You can make it more advanced. Ideally, this is giving you ideas for the endless possibilities. Instructions, I tell it, return a JSON object, which is what we need to actually parse the data. I give it some examples of what might be coming in, and then I have the expected output, and then we need our input. So I need to add our input. So the scenario input is going to take, let's just call it our message. The AI agent message. Again, you can make this whatever you want. Have it be text. And come back in here and we have access to our input now in the little bracket section. We have message. Throw it in here so that will fill in the message that comes from our agent. All right, let's run this just to see what we get back from it. So I already have a kind of pre-filled in prompt that could have gone, or message that could have gone to our agent. And the idea is that we would say something in Slack like, hey, I just talked to Susan and please add her as a prospect. And you would throw in like Susan Smith and her email, which would be pretty sweet. So this was the input that we set up in our inputs for the make scenario, and it's going to go to make and then it's going to run. So let's see what properties we get out of it so we can use those in the next step. And the result is our beautiful object. So we have Susan Smith, company name. It tried to pull from the email because I didn't actually put it in there. So it assumed the company name was Acme and then did email, which is the email we had. And lead stages defaults to new. And then now let's actually throw this into our Notion, create a database item. We'll do a quick search for CRM. What do I call it? Example CRM database. Example CRM database. There we go. And now we just need to fill in the properties. So these are nicely organized for us. Person name, LinkedIn, email, lead status. We're going to map it. Company name and phone number. Save. And that's pretty much it on this aspect. So it'll actually create that. So let's just run it and see. It's going to pre-fill in, again, this is just sort of our test version. So we can manually input what we want it to do for the test. Click OK. It's going to run. It's going to process, going to extract the information, and then send it over to Notion to create a new database item. And let's see if it created it. There we go. There's Susan Smith, Acme, Susan Smith. So hopefully this gives you an idea of how you could put so many steps in between here. You could have it go out and do research on the prospect. You could have it go out and find, validate their email. You could have it go find people who are connected to that person that you might want, like warm connections you'd want to talk to. There's so many things you could do in between these two steps. I'm showing the very basic version, going from getting the message from Slack to just putting it somewhat raw into the database. But the steps in between here are endless. So now let's just respond with our scenario, our return output. And we need to create an actual output. So we'll add our output and we will call this the Notion URL. Say this is the URL to the new Notion item. Just be text. That's it. And then we'll fill it. So now we click on this, we'll fill it. And the new Notion object will return a URL somewhere. There it is. URL, save. And we'll save it. And then remember, we need to switch this from at regular intervals to on demand and activate it and save it. And we're live with this sub agent. So the sub agent now, let's rename it real quick. Sub agent, create new prospect in Notion. And now we just go back to our parent agent and tell it about our sub agent. So let's go back to add tools, do sub, if I can type, sub agent, create new prospect. And then we give it a description. So this would be create a new prospect entry in our Notion database. We'll add it. And then we need to tell our prompt down here that it exists. So here are the tasks you can do. You can also create a new prospect entry in our Notion database. And that's it. Now it knows about it. So let's save it. Let's give it a try. We'll go and save it and run it. For new data, here's our Slack. We'll say something like, please add John Smith to our prospect list. His email is john at betaco, and his LinkedIn is linkedin.com/in/John Smith Beta Co. I don't know. I'm just making it up, obviously. Click enter. It got it. It grabbed it. It's running. The AI agent is deciding what to do, and it's ideally going to do the correct thing. It returned a message. Let's see what our message was. Our message says, I've added John Smith to our prospect list. You can check his entry. Let's go check it out and see if it worked. There it is. So again, there's so many things you could do in between here. I hope your mind is like blown with all the possibilities. There's so many things you could do in between here on getting more data, assign it to people. Like there's just so much stuff you could do. Like this is just so cool. So cool. And the one thing that we can do is we can also just ask it. So the agent also just is like, it's also just ChatGPT. So you can also just ask it anything and it will respond as ChatGPT. So hey there, what task can you do? And I don't have it running. Try one more time. Wait for new data. Run this again. Hey there, what tasks can you do? It's triggering. And so this time it's going to look and say like, hey, I don't need to do any of my tasks, but I'm going to respond as the things I can do. And I'm guessing it's going to say the stuff I can do. I can help with the following tasks: creating a content idea or adding a new prospect. Super cool. And that's pretty much it. That's the idea of creating an AI agent within Slack. And again, you could replace Slack with Telegram or any other platform, but these are super cool. The idea is you create these sub scenarios or sub agents, and then you assign them to the parent agent, and the sky is the limit. Again, hopefully your mind is going crazy thinking of all the possibilities of what you could be doing right now on this. And then the fun part is just adding all the small bells and whistles that you need to, or making it unique to the problem that you're trying to solve. So, for example, our AI agent, if you were to run this, if we were to turn this on, which we want to, let's delete all the old data, delete, run it immediately, save this. This is going to run anytime we ask it a question, which is great. The thing you would notice is this can take, let's say, 30 seconds to a minute. So we want to do something to let the user on the front end know that there's an action happening. So the one thing we could do is, just for fun, we could add a Slack reaction. Let's do add a reaction. We'll throw it in the middle here. And we could just have it react to that post. The message. It could react to the message just so that the person knows that something is happening. Oh, wait, I don't need to map that. Grab our channel ID, grab our message ID, which is our timestamp, and then we'll give it a reaction. I think it's eyes. That one probably works. It's just, the eyeballs. Save. And now if we save this, let's watch what happens on the front end, which should be a little more delightful. I have a new content idea. Create a YouTube video about adding emojis to Slack via the API. I just literally made that up. So now we get the eyeballs. Otherwise, I would have been sitting here thinking, did that go through? Like, is it broken? Am I sitting here waiting? So the eyeballs go through first before it starts processing. So now I know that the reaction lets me know that something's actually happening, that it's processing, which is a lot more interesting. So now we've gotten, now we've gotten, all right. And I just caught the issue with these bots that you need to make sure you account for. And I did this in my demo, but I did not do this in my video here, which was to protect against the recursion of the AI agent calling itself. So if we look at the message that is received here, it doesn't care if it's the bot or a person. It will trigger the scenario no matter what. So what happened was I just turned this on and I said, I have this new content idea, and then it put a message, and then it put another message, and it put another message, and it ran recursively over our make scenario. And if I would have let this run, it would have destroyed my budget, and it would it would have eaten up all of my credits for AI. So two things that you need to account for. One is the settings up here give you account settings, give you the ability to set max tokens and recursion limit. So the recursion limit, we might want to set to like 3, because I don't know any time that it would need to really recall, or like it would recall itself. So I should set to 1. And then iterations from history. Iterations from history is the last amount of like messages it receives. So it can use that in its data, which is fine. And then max tokens, maybe I'll set to like 10,000 so I don't destroy it. Again, it's a example. So we'll save that. So that'll protect against crazy amount of recursion. And then the other piece, I just need to make sure I'm setting some type of filter. So when those messages come in, I'm ignoring the bots. So let's do our filter, and then we'll do setup filter, and we'll do ignore bot. And we're looking for, specifically in Slack, we're looking for a bot ID that either comes through or doesn't come through. So if it doesn't come through, we know it's a user. If it comes through, we know it's the bot. So we want to ignore the bots. So we're going to say the bot ID does not exist. It can continue. If it does exist, we want it to ignore it. So now if this were to run, it will ignore the bots coming through, and it will only process messages from users. So now let's try this again, as I was like frantically having a heart attack as it was just doing an infinite loop. All right, we'll try turning it on again. We'll delete the old data, save it, save this, and let's try this one more time. Add a new prospect, Julie Smith, who's also related to John Smith, with an email of Julie at Delta Co. And LinkedIn is linkedin.com/Julie Smith Delta Co. Something like that. We got our eyeballs. Let us know it's working. And we have our response. And look at that. There we go. I've added Julie Smith to your prospect list. Here's the links. Let me know if anything else. Let's go to a link. There she is. And that was pretty much it. That's the foundation of creating an AI agent with Slack. And if you have any other ideas on automations I should build, or sub agents I should build, or questions that you might have, throw them in the comments. I'm happy to help. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out my next video.